A lot of feedback. You jumped into the comments on Twitter, on Instagram. You were in the comments on YouTube. You might be right now. I'd love your feedback. You were in the comments on Facebook. I don't know what's happening on Facebook, but we are blowing up on Facebook. I mean, over 100,000 per episode on that platform alone. So if you're watching on Facebook, hit share. Just that's the way we keep growing this audience. And I want this to be, as I've always said, a community. You're right there in the comments hanging out with us. And here are some of the comments from yesterday. Now, David Pakman is a liberal YouTuber. He's successful. He's got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And we invited him on to have a conversation, a debate. And here's some of what you guys had to say. Rolf Botcher said, the headline of this YouTube video is obviously misleading. The headline read something like, Trump falling apart. It was kind of a contention of David Pakman because he'd focused on this 35-second freeze of Trump at the NRA convention during a speech. We debated it. I think I effectively proved, David, that wasn't he didn't freeze, he didn't glitch. It wasn't Mitch McConnell. He was pausing for dramatic effect as he had music underlaying what he was saying and doing. But again, Rolf Botcher says, the headline of this YouTube video is obviously misleading, but your conversation is great. It's something that should be a normalcy in America, in American discourse, like in almost every other Western democratic society. Unfortunately, is not. Hey, on the Western democratic society thing, you know what I think is fascinating? I've always loved like videos of British Parliament. I mean, they get after it. They go back and forth, and we have granted, a not very dignified back and forth between Jasmine Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC. But I'm not into etiquette. I'm into, like, let's have the messy fight. Now, it has to be done with the spirit of good faith and goodwill. And whatever happened with Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC, that was all performance art. It wasn't actually a substantive back and forth. But we definitely need more of this. Here is Crispy. I can't go on to read the rest of that name. We'll say Crispy9622. You can read it out if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Not really a fan of either of these guys, meaning me or David Pakman, but I enjoyed Will's conversation with Destiny, another liberal YouTuber we did a few weeks back. He seems like a genuine dude who wants to have real conversations. Meanwhile, David came off as super combative and cringe here. Match the energy, man. There's time to go hard on people and times where it's inappropriate. This was not the time to go hard. The secondhand and embarrassment made this hard to watch. And then at the bottom, Jordan Van Nortwick said, I'm a longtime David Pakman subscriber. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with him. So, Willisha, 2 days, Dan, 10-4. I mean, David did come in hot, right? I mean, he came in you guys' estimation, I think what you said is tinfoil. You said you figure he thought this was going to be like any other Fox News appearance or Fox News debate, like a 3-minute slap fest, and he came in sort of with his guns ready to go, right, 2 days?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he came off really fast, and he was kind of just trying to set the tone to you first. And, I mean, it's your show, and I understand he hosts a show just like this, but he was trying to set the tone real fast, and you handled it well. I mean, it's hard, but then you kind of ramp up yourself, which was the best part, and then you get
Well, I want to talk about that, but first I'm going to read you what Gray Sin 1320 said on YouTube. Said, great seeing David on. I personally align with David and guys like Destiny, but I think David kind of fumbled here. He came in really hot. You can put this up for the audience. Pretty much claiming to be the judge on whether Will is a bad fake actor or not. Even if you say it was a joke, it's really condescending. David also came in ready to attack views and statements made by other Fox News hosts, not made by Will. So, okay, a couple of things here. So, first, David posted this video on his feed as well. And I'll tell you this. On his feed, the comments are pretty much 100-0. David wiped the floor with Will. David smoked Will. Under our audience, which, by the way, is interesting, some David Pakman fans, it's much more evenly split. Here's what's interesting, and I'm being honest with you on this. I didn't come in to win this debate, okay? If David came in hot and he wanted to, have these very pointed moments of wins and losses, well, he's going to get them Because I'm not coming in with that. Now, let me just tell you why. First of all, forgive the lack of humility. I have debated my entire life. For 5 years, I debated among the best of them, certainly in performance with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. And then every other person that came in, Max Kellerman, Marcus Spears, you name it. Okay, also in politics. This was not a real debate, if we're being honest. A real debate has a prompt, a specific item that you are debating. And in First Take, I've said this on numerous occasions. That is vetted out in the morning meeting. We have a morning meeting at 7, and there's topics on the board. Pacers, Celtics. Did Rick Carlisle fail the Pacers last night by not taking a timeout and drawing up an inbounding play for the for the Pacers to win a game they had in hand? One guy says no, one guy says yes. You have a question, you have a prompt, and you have two sides coming at it from opposite directions. That's not what 20 minutes with a guest of a different point of view is to me. It can be, but that almost has to be produced. There are people that do this. There's some of these organizations, and they're escaping my name, where you'll have like Chris Rufo and Jordan Peterson versus, I don't know, Sam Harris and somebody else. And there's a specific question. And here's the way it's done. A neutral audience votes before and after to take out their own biases. So they say what they think about the prompt. Then they listen to the arguments and they vote again afterwards. I think it's the purest form. And it shows who persuaded. The point is, if David came in hot and he wanted this to be a win and loss situation, he's going to make it a win for his audience. And I understand that. Tone, approach, everything. I'm looking to have a conversation with someone who has disagreements with me. Now, I'm not above a debate. And when David started making statements, I definitely came back at him on a pointed level. And I'm going to analyze that coming up in just a minute here on The Will Cain Show, because I want to show you where I succeeded and where I failed. But the point is, what happens is in these situations, when you're looking for the win, you're playing to people that already agree with you largely in that kind of situation. I mean, I understand if some of the Fox News audience is also like, Will didn't win this debate. That's probably true, because I'm not doing a 3-minute slap him around segment. And I don't have a pointed prompt to say, here. Now, there are moments when that happened, and we'll revisit those. But I think it's just, in a way, came at this two different sort of approaches. And look, Destiny, I think, came at this the way that I did. Destiny came into this like, let's explore our disagreements. Let's not try to do some MSNBC versus Fox partisan slap fight. And if that's what David wants to do, that's what he wants to do, I do think he was generally in good spirit. And he's welcome to come back. But I think that's what happened. And a lot of people that are commenting on his tone versus mine in a favorable way to me, I think are picking up on, we kind of came at it with two different spirits, two different purposes. Rich P3744 says, please, Will, continue to have David or someone like him on so that we can continue to have conversations with different perspectives. We all become stronger when our views are tested. I intend to, Rich. And then Paula G says, I generally agree with Pakman more just because I'm a liberal. But Cain was fair and civil here. If all conservatives were this reasonable, progress cooperation would be very possible. I mean, I think people are reasonable. That's the thing. Left, right. It's a matter of so what is your purpose in a particular given event or conversation? Are you trying to win? And there's nothing wrong with that. You're just going to come out of something with something different. And you know what? We'll have debates. We've produced debates. Ben Domenech versus Tommy Lahren on abortion. We've had others. We'll produce debates where we create the prompt and I'm the moderator. But, that's generally what this is. Also, by the way, here's this. So Vivi Simone says, under Paula, sorry to say, Pakman really took Cain to task in this debate. See, now that's what I'm talking about. You can come out of this with that belief, and that's fine. Certainly David's audience is going to believe that. Like this, Rachel Pusateri says, David brought the facts, Will brought the feelings. Well, okay, Rachel, I'm not so sure about that. In fact, I want to dive into that. David brought the facts, okay? We're going to substantively analyze this debate after our conversation with Jeremy Carl. We're going to break down What facts did David bring? Were they facts or were they declarative statements? And where did I fail in that debate? But I will tell you, I don't, in this format, I don't care about winning and losing. I don't. I want to just keep having these conversations. I'm 100% confident enough in what I believe. And more importantly, why I believe it, that I am willing to explore that with anyone that disagrees with me. I'm never going to, quote unquote, win with the audience of David Pakman, but I am going to sign up to have these conversations because A, I think they're interesting and entertaining. B, I think they're really good for the country. And C, I'm really confident that we have explored why we believe what we believe and that what we believe can stand the test of a debate or a conversation here on the Will Cain Show. But I want to talk about sort of some things that happened in that debate and how that conversation went. I'll first share these comments with you. Andrea Does Yoga says, thoughtful discussion, appreciate it. The Readable says, Pakman does this thing where he frames the narrative where you either agree with him or you're insane or stupid. Then he brings up professionals about mental wellness, but it's unprofessional to diagnose a mental state from just watching a subject on TV. Okay, I'd say there's two big moments that happened in our conversation that turned into a debate. First, we started talking about Joe Biden's cognitive decline and whether or not it is real, whether or not he's taking performance-enhancing drugs to improve himself in moments like debates or big speeches like the State of the Union, and whether or not it matters to the voter. If you look at the many people that say I lost that debate, they'll say things like David brought up facts. Well, first of all, I want to talk about facts for just a moment. David made declarative statements. Declarative statements are not the same thing as a fact. I'm going to give you an example. At the end of this discussion about Joe Biden's cognitive decline, he says, I say it's important. You know, it's obviously important in terms of leadership. You got to have a president that wakes up and goes to bed at the top of his game. But it's also important to the voters. And he dismisses it. He says, well, why doesn't it show up in any poll? And I said, well, I don't even remember what I said to his response. He goes, no polls. It doesn't show up in any poll. Okay, he stated what he is contending to be a fact, that it's no one cares. No one thinks this is a big deal. And it's a declarative statement, but it's not a fact. I just did a quick search, and we need to start integrating this into the show in real time. I totally want to start doing that. I told the guys we need to have Two-A-Days bring up his computer in real time. This is a quick Google search. Growing share of U.S. adults doubt Biden's mental capability. That's from PBS. New York Times, a poll reflecting worries about Biden's age. AP, more than 6 in 10 U.S. adults doubt Biden's mental capability. NBC News, Biden's age and fitness top the list of voter concerns. And you can go on and on and on. Let's look at some of them specifically. Some of these headlines. Take a look at this. The Hill, more people concerned about Biden's cognitive health than Trump's. That's a poll where they say 52% were very concerned about Biden's cognitive abilities. Let's look at another one. This is ABC News. Overwhelming majority of Americans think Biden is too old for another term, poll. It's just like, it's not even a close call. It wasn't a fact. It was a declarative statement that quite honestly was false, made by Pakman. Poll, 68% of voters have worries. This is NBC News. 68% of voters have worries about Biden's mental and physical health. I mean, there's more. Here's PBS. Growing share of U.S. adults doubt Biden's mental capability to serve as president, according to an AP poll. Quoting the figure of 6 in 10, consider it to be very important to them. You see, a declarative statement is not the same thing as a fact. Now, as that commenter pointed out, the other thing is this appeal to authority, like, oh, the experts say, or this or that, talking about diagnosing Joe Biden from afar. Pakman says, oh, well, everybody I've had, all these experts I've talked to say there's no problem. And I in real time, I said, well, what experts? I knew it was an appeal to authority. That's a direct debate technique. And look, to be real, Trump does it all the time. His appeal to authority is people are saying, A lot of people are saying. It's an easy thing to kind of wave your hand towards. And then he rattled off some names of people I've never heard of. But it totally undercuts, hey, what kind of expert is diagnosing someone from afar? No professional, medical professional is ethically comfortable doing that. So I don't know who these quote-unquote experts are that care nothing about their ethical obligations of diagnosing Joe Biden from afar to say, oh, he's perfectly fine. But I can assure you one thing, it doesn't carry much credibility or weight with me, and it isn't a fact. Now, here's where I failed. I'm going to tell you a failing. This is a comment from Nobody Important 23. This is on YouTube. Say, how do you ask someone to prove a negative and then say the burden of proof is on them? So here's we began the show today. I said, a real debate has a prompt, and then you argue two sides of prompt. That didn't happen yesterday on Joe Biden's cognitive decline because I didn't have an affirmative statement. Well, here was my affirmative statement. It's not crazy for someone to wonder what's Joe Biden hopped up on if he performs in big moments vastly differently than we see him perform on a daily basis. It's not crazy. Pakman did a video and said it's crazy and it's irresponsible and this and that. And my contention is it's not crazy. And why? Common sense. We all have our eyes and our ears and we can all see what's going on with Joe Biden. And then Pakman starts going into Adderall and Provigil and the limits of those specific medications and what they can do to improve someone's performance at the age of, what is Biden? Is he 80? 81? And I say to him specifically, well, you're using specifics. That was a mistake because obviously specifics are valuable in a debate. And it gave, obviously, his audience all the ammunition they need. David's bringing facts. Will cares about feelings. Specifics are what you need. And I get that. But the problem there was my word choice. I shouldn't have said you're bringing specifics. I should have said you're making me play whack-a-mole. Now, I'll say I did make David, to some extent, prove a negative, and that's not fair either. But I didn't actually make him prove a negative because I didn't contend Joe Biden is on performance enhancers. What my contention was, and therefore what the prompt would have been, is it's not crazy to wonder if Joe Biden is on performance enhancers. While the left or Pakman dismisses it as conspiracy crazy talk, no, it's not. Now, I can't prove the affirmative he's on performance enhancers, so I didn't say that. I said it's not crazy to wonder if he's on performance enhancers. And then he plays what I should have said instead of specifics was whack-a-mole. Adderall, boom, Provigil, boom. He's knocking down straw men that I never made arguments on. And by the way, I don't even know if he's right about the limits of Provigil on a 81-year-old. He used Provigil to say it doesn't work on somebody with dementia, which again is a straw man of an affirmative I didn't say. Does Joe Biden have dementia? I don't know. I just know I see one man, common sense this way, in this situation, and the same man a different way in a different situation. The failing in that particular part of our conversation is there's no clear prompt. I'm arguing that it's not crazy, and I'm right, by the way. It's not crazy. He's arguing, I guess, that it is crazy because all of these specific drugs wouldn't do what you're contending to do. I don't know. Did he get 14 hours of sleep before the State of the Union? Did he sleep up until 5 p.m.? Which, by the way, isn't good for a president. We don't need a president that needs, 3-hour power naps and 12 hours at night. We need a president on the job. Is he shot up with B12? I don't know. Provigil? I don't know. Adderall? I don't know. And I don't have to prove every single whack-a-mole in order to justify the common sense that we all see with our very own eyes. In the end, if you think David won, that's great. I don't care. You can't. I don't even care if you think I won. That's not the point. I wanted to have a conversation, and I wanted to. I'm getting the hiccups because I took a break for an on. There's Zen shortage in the country right now, and I'm having to resort to on. Really slumming it, and it sometimes gives me hiccups. The point is, I'm also fighting a mosquito. Two-a-days, Dan. Tinfoil Pat.
You're all right over there, bud?
I've got one mosquito in my studio here, and he is just destroying me. during that interview with Jeremy Carl. And I can't go swatting at him. Is one mosquito flying around. I only see him in glimpses, and now I got the hiccups. But long and short of it, what did you guys think of the debate yesterday? We talked about it pre-show. There he was. He just got me on my foot. What did you guys think about the debate yesterday?
I thought it was great. I mean, we knew kind of what it was going in, and like we said, he came out hot, and the points. It was different than a Destiny debate. He came in knowing what he wanted to get accomplished and how he was going to accomplish it, no matter what you were throwing back at him and what he was throwing back at you.
Very different vibe than Destiny.
There was a plan, and it went on that way.
Yeah, I think.
Well, and I'm okay with that. Go ahead, James.
I think Destiny came across as genuine and looking to have a conversation, and Pakman, I think, came across as a little slimy, very disingenuous, and just kind of a little more gotcha.
Young establishment coming in hot.
I didn't like the dude.
He sounds a lot like
didn't like him at all.
He sounds like CRSHOV ride. David is a propagandist, not even worthy of an interview. See, I disagree. I think it is worthy. You can show the audience that. Or I like this name, Mudblood Prince. Good job, Will. All the gentlemen arguments were in bad faith. He was using feelings over facts, and frankly, just wasn't smart enough to debate you. I actually think there were moments where Pakman did come in with good faith. I think there were moments of that. I think there were some tricks, which I tried to point out today, that sets him up for a win on a tilted playing field, even though I'm playing home court because I'm not trying to get the win. And by the way, if David wants to do that in the future, I'm up for that. We can have a specific prompt, a legitimate debate, and come at it from opposite angles and try to have a win and a loss. Or I'm also open to conversations like Destiny where we can just explore it and understand why each other believe and push back where we think each other are wrong. In the end, I'm up for all of it. Let's do it. You're welcome back, David Pakman. You're certainly welcome back, Destiny. And we'll have more. We'll have more of this here on The Will Cain Show.